The car slid to a halt outside Glenmore Manor, its stone walls swallowed by the white void of the Scottish winter. Snow fell in heavy layers, muffling every sound. My family had owned this place for generations, a crumbling retreat hidden in the cairngorms. It stood empty now. The caretaker had left weeks ago. I was the only soul for miles. The air smelled of frost and damp earth, sharp enough to sting my lungs. I carried my bag inside, footsteps echoing through the vast, empty halls. That night, I lay awake, listening to the wind howl like a warning. By dawn, I knew I had to explore the woods below the estate. Something pulled me toward the trees, toward whatever lay buried in the snow. I pulled on thick clothes and stepped outside. The snow reached my knees, each step a struggle. The forest loomed ahead, a wall of black pines. No birds sang, no animals moved, only silence pressed against my ears. I walked for an hour, deeper into the woods, until the manor vanished behind me. Then I saw it. A narrow path winding upward, half buried under snow. It led to a rocky outcrop. At its base, a dark gap gaped in the earth. A mine shaft or something older? My flashlight trembled in my hand as I approached. The entrance reeked of wet stone and something else. Something organic, like decay mixed with animal fur. I hesitated, then crawled inside. The shaft opened into a small room. Dust hung thick in the air. Against the far wall stood 2 stone blocks, one hollowed like a coffin. Inside it, bones glistened under the light. Human bones. Beside them lay a rusted blade and several old coins, their square holes worn smooth. The smell grew stronger. A zoo's cage, sharp and wrong. I reached for a coin, fingers brushing cold metal. A dull thud echoed from one of the side tunnels. The scent shifted, carrying traces of smoke. Rhythmic beats began, like a drum pulsing in the dark. My breath caught. The walls seemed to vibrate. I backed toward the exit, clutching the blade like a shield. The drumming grew louder, matching my racing heart. Smoke curled into the chamber, stinging my eyes. I turned to run, but the tunnel mouth vanished in shadows. Panic surged. I sprinted, boots slipping on loose stones, the blade clattering from my grip. Snow exploded around me as I burst into the daylight. I stumbled down the slope, falling, rolling, until I landed in a drift. Behind me, the forest stood silent again. Yet I swore the ground trembled beneath me. I ran harder, lungs burning, until I reached the road. A passing truck stopped. The driver stared at my pale face, but said nothing. Only when safe inside the manor did I collapse onto the bed, shivering. 3 days later, I prepared to leave. The manor felt lighter, the horror fading into memory. Then my phone buzzed. A message from my father. Break in at Glenmore. Your room door destroyed. No theft. Only a rusted spike driven through it. I froze. That spike, it matched the blade I dropped in the snow. How had it reached my room? The police found no fingerprints, no footprints, just the spike, ancient and cold. Now I sit here, miles away, still hearing that drum in my dreams. Whatever slept in those stones is awake, and it knows where I live. The tires of our rented dacha slid on the mud-choked road. pine branches clawing at the windows like skeletal fingers. Romania's Carpathians were nothing like the sterile halls of Munich's observatory, where Lucas, Henrik, Eva, and I studied. Here, the air smelled of wet earth and rot, the kind of decay that clings to your clothes. We'd chosen this spot for its zero light pollution, ignoring the warnings from villagers. Numerdzets nopta, an old woman had hissed. Bada, clutching a twisted wooden cross. Padure umble lorare ohi. The forest of shadows has eyes. At midnight, we reached the clearing. The Milky Way blazed overhead, but the trees seemed to lean inward, swallowing the sky. Eva set up the telescope while Lucas lit a gas lantern. Its hissing flame cast long shadows, too many shadows. Then we heard it, a low, gurgling engine. Henrik froze, his radio crackling. Scheisse, look east. Through the pines, two dim yellow headlights flickered. Not modern beams, the dull glow of ancient bulbs. A corroded Lada Niva lurched into view, its windshield shattered. 3 silhouettes sat inside, motionless. No license plates, no faces. The engine died. The doors creaked open, but no one stepped out. Eva whispered, "Why aren't they moving?" Then the whispers began, not from the car, from the trees. Guttural, syllables slurred as if spoken through water. Romanian, maybe, or something older. The radio erupted in static. Henrik dropped it, the plastic casing splitting like an eggshell. "We need to leave," Lucas said, packing the telescope with shaking hands. "Now." The Lada's headlights flared to life. Mud sprayed as we sped down the forest road, the Lada's engine roaring behind us. Its headlights bobbed in the rearview mirror, never gaining, never falling back. Branches scraped the Dacia's roof like nails on a chalkboard. Eva clutched the radio. "Henrik, where are you?" His voice came back distorted, syllables stretched. "They're blend us." A sharp turn sent the car skidding. My head slammed into the window. When I looked up, the Lada was gone. We stopped, panting. The forest had gone silent. No owls, no wind. Just the tick of the cooling engine. Then, the whispers returned. This time, inside the car. Luca screamed first, a face pressed against his window, pale, hairless, its features obscured by a crude wooden mask carved with spirals. No eyes, just a gaping mouth hole. More emerged from the trees, masks glinting in the headlights. They moved jerkily, like puppets on tangled strings. The whispers grew louder, echoing inside my skull. Henrik's Dacia screeched up beside us, his passenger door dented. "Drive!" he yelled. We fishtail onto a logging trail, Balada reappearing behind us. Its headlights flashed once, twice, searing my retinas. Eva sobbed. "What do they want?" The answer came in a slowed whisper, booming through the radio. "Timp. Time." Dawn found us at a petrol station 30 kilometers away. The attendant refused to meet our eyes. Henrik's car was gone. He'd veered off-road near the end, and we hadn't dared stop. Police found his Dacia the next day, empty, but for a single item on the driver's seat. A wooden mask, still damp with sap. We never spoke of it again. Not until last week, when Lucas sent me a photo from his new apartment in Berlin. Outside his window, parked on the street, was a rusted Lada Niva. No plates, no driver, and every night since I've heard them. Whispers in the dark, always the same word. Timp, timp, timp. The forest of shadows has eyes, and now, so do they. The rink's cracked concrete bled rust where the steel barriers met the ice, like veins frozen mid-pulse. 10 kilometers outside Kiruna, buried in pine forests so dense, even the northern lights struggled to pierce them. It was ours. Mine. Eric's. Linnea's and Yen's. We'd found it during our first winter in high school. A Soviet-era relic abandoned when the mine closed. The scoreboard hung crooked, its bulbs shattered. But the ice remained, smooth and endless under the Arctic moon. We'd skate until our lungs burned, laughing at the way our voices echoed across the empty stands. Eric needed it most. His father's fists spoke louder than his words, so we'd lie on the ice, staring up at constellations we couldn't name, and pretend we were astronauts adrift in the void. Then came the night. The rink stopped feeling safe. I shouldn't have gone alone. Linnea had flu. Jens was grounded. Eric never showed. I waited 30 minutes, my breath fogging the Volvo's windshield, before trudging past the derelict locker rooms. The rink's single floodlight flickered, casting long shadows that didn't match the trees. That's when I heard it, the scrape of blades on ice. No laughter, no chatter, just slow, deliberate strokes. I squinted through the chain-link fence. A lone skater circled the center line, face obscured by a fur-trimmed hood. Their movements were wrong, too fluid, like a marionette with cut strings. The floodlight died. When it sputtered back on, the rink was empty. 3 days later, Eric's mother called. He didn't come home last night. We combed the forest for weeks. Police brought dogs that whimpered and turned back at the rink's entrance. Volunteers posted flyers in Kiruna's coffee shops, but the wind tore them down by morning. Linnea found the first clue, Eric's scarf, frozen solid near the rink's penalty box. No blood, no struggle, just wool stiff with ice, as if he'd melted into the air. I returned in April, when the ice began to crack. They sat in the highest row of bleachers, 3 figures in heavy wool coats, faces hidden by scarves. Motionless, silent, except the 4th. He danced along the rink's edge, boots crushing the brittle ice, arms flailing as if puppeteered by a madman. His laughter rang hollow, metallic, like a recording played backward. I knew him. Not his name, but his jawline, the sharp angle I'd seen in our school's 1987 yearbook. A janitor who'd quit weeks before we were born. The dancers froze. 6 gloved hands rose in unison, pointing toward the forest. I ran. The police dismissed the janitor as grief-induced hallucination. Then in June, I saw the car. An old Volvo, Eric's Volvo, parked outside the Kiruna library. Its windshield was cracked, headlights shattered, but the bumper sticker glinted in the midnight sun. Velkommen till Norrland. The driver wore a fur hood. When he turned, I saw the janitor's face, older now, lips stretched in a grin too wide for human jaws. The engine roared. Tires spun on gravel. All that remained was Eric's keychain, rusted and bent, wedged in the library's door. Sometimes, when the northern winds howl, I hear blades scraping ice, and I wonder if Eric still skates in whatever dark rink stole him from the light.